Alright, y'all, it's time for a live stream. Here I am. It's me. And Gatsby. But first, it's Tuesday. I'm Mike. I'm Director of Technology for the Gymnasium. Every week I jump on and I tweet and stream and scream and yell and debug and bang my hands on the keyboard so that you can see what it's like to be a IRL software developer, designer, one-man army team to an extent, working with really a small team of very talented individuals. I am Director of Technology, so I do most of the code-related this and that for Gymnasium. We have our designer, Justin, who's often on the stream, and the mastermind behind it all, Mr. Andrew, who probably won't be here today. But anyway, Gymnasium, if you're not familiar with it, we do free online self-paced video courses that span the gamut of subject matter from, well, really across loads of different things. So software design, software development, we have courses on jQuery, on user experience, on JavaScript, on data visualization, writing, more JavaScript, more jQuery, more responsive design, time management, Node, grid layout. You should take all of these courses because they're all wonderful and they're all super engaging and taught by people who are doing this stuff for a living. That means they are grounded in reality and based in stuff that you should be benefiting from. So what I would say you should do is give one of these a try, give us your feedback on it, and if there's one to try out this week, I think I always recommend the Node course, but I think this week I'm going to say the Git and GitHub course is really good if you don't have experience with Git and GitHub. That's something that I often deal with on stream that I kind of fly through without explaining, and it would be great if you don't understand it. It would be a great help. So what are we doing on stream today? Well, last week we were working with React. We were working with React Storybook, I guess, which has a React implementation. So we built out a storybook for one of the projects I had been working on. Interactive UI, component dev, and test. All this good stuff. And what I'm hoping to do this week is expand on our use of Storybook and start to play around with some of the technologies we're looking at using for Gymnasium's next major release. So I'm very well versed in React for a number of different reasons, but I've got lots of experience writing apps in React. So using the storybook to deliver components a piece at a time so that I can work with Justin, our designer, is a really beneficial thing to do. But we also need to be able to deliver these React apps in a way that is straightforward and reproducible and maintainable and all those good things that you want for your software. So there's a number of different things that we're going to be looking at for the next version of Gymnasium. Basically, the hope is that our entire CMS for Gymnasium, all of the stuff that ends up being our effectively our marketing pages and the things that aren't directly within the courses, we want to have set up from a CMS that we can edit and make changes to and deliver stuff without doing a major release through our release process, which is pretty intensive and thorough and time consuming. But to be able to update the copy on a page would be really nice to be able to do without having to release new software. So, all that being said, I've got a bunch of options for how to do that, and I'm going to talk about some of them today. We'll start with the storybook, because the storybook is a great way for us to mock up things that we have on Gymnasium. For example, well, actually, so this is a good time to plug another course. If you have heard of or taken our Atomic Design course, one thing that might interest you is the way in which we would build up a site from scratch. So React is centered on building components that are reusable bits of markup and interactivity via JavaScript. The components are composable, so a component can be comprised of child components, etc., etc. It can be sort of turtles all the way down. And we want to start building a storybook of these components that starts at basically the really low level, so that every time we need, for example, from the screen we're looking at right now, every time I need a title, I should be able to drop in a title tag and have it look like this. Every time we need some paragraph copy, it should look like this, etc. Bulleted lists should have this nice title option and a number of bullets and the correct orange style for bullets. and so on and so forth. And then so those things could compose, so we would have 2 bulleted lists here, each with a subtitle and some bullets, a paragraph, a header title, and then on the left an image with a action button and a background and all that. Those are all things that we could break down into components, which would be viewable in our storybook, and should be visibly functional and responsive before they need to be interactive. So that's where the storybook comes in, and that's what we're hoping to use that for. There are a number of different things we can do for the content management side of things, which we'll talk about probably on a future stream. But what I'm interested in today is sussing out whether it makes sense to use Gatsby to build our front end for our marketing sites. So when I say marketing sites, marketing pages, it includes this sort of a page, which is just our catalog of courses. Also includes our home page, which probably isn't cached right now, and if I go back, it'll probably show me streaming, but all of this other stuff on the page, that's interesting, and we want to see that. And we want to be able to build this without having to rebuild the entire rest of the gymnasium, et cetera, et cetera. So my purpose today, my goal today, I should say, is to come in and try and reproduce some of this stuff in Storybook and React so that we can later on feed it to Gatsby or feed it to a more robust React platform if we need to, and then start plugging in the data componentry, the CMS sort of service side of things to make it all work. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. Let me check my chat here. I think I may be flying solo on stream today, which is perfectly fine. No one's scared. I can do it. It's fine. Oh no, Justin is here, and Josh is here. Hey Justin, how's it going? So we're going to play with Storybooks some more, and I am, to do that, I'm uncertain how, so basically what I'm hoping to do is start with what is essentially a blank project, and start doing some of this stuff via Storybook. At a bare minimum, identifying the types of content that we want to use the Storybook for, and then we can figure out how to plug it into an application, whether we choose to do that with Gatsby or with Create React App or with some other hodgepodge of things. I think that makes sense. I think that's what we're going to do. So practice what we preach, etc. Let's look at what Storybook recommends for basic setup. I'm curious. Maybe we can do. Maybe there's a way to do this where we have just a repo of components that we can edit. I don't know. I'm not sure. There's a million ways to skin a cat here. But for that reason, we should do some reading. So Storybook supports many different front-end view layers with more coming. React, Vue, Angular, Mithril, Marco, never heard of that. HTML, Svelte, Meteor, and Ember are currently supported. Follow these steps to get started with Storybook. Great. So basically you run npx, which goes into the Storybook on package on npm, grabs the CLI, and it initializes the Storybook with, I guess that's the command SB, I guess. Slow start guides. Ooh. Yeah, okay. So here's what I'm going to do. I had other plans for how I was going to do this, but I'm going to start a repo, a new project, essentially. I think that is just storybooked things that we will work on, and borrow code from our other bits of code. All right, hang on one second while I hide some not public information on screen here. So, okay, so I'm going to, my God, we're going to have a lot of problems here. All right, I'm going to open up a new VS Code window. I'm going to bring myself back so you can see me. And first things first, we're going to make a project, I guess. Yeah, okay, we'll do it from scratch. That's fine. I think that's worth trying. Obviously, we did this last week much more quickly by just integrating it into an existing project, but I think this is worth trying. So let's do Storybook. And then inside of the Storybook, we're going to do yarn add Storybook /React and Babel core Babel loader I actually needed to initialize my project first, but I didn't do that. It's okay. This might still work. Just gonna pull this off screen. Sorry, that's my cats knocking things over. As always, Gymnasium Storybook. We'll open this thing. So this is plugging in quite a few dependencies, which is why it's taking a minute here. We're going to use all the tricks today. Oops. Boy, this is chewing up some resources. Let me close Slack here. Okay. So, oh, it did create a package.json. Okay, great. So, Visual Studio Code here. We have this very empty, I should do this, yarn init, name Storybook. We're going to call this Gymnasium Storybook. I think I can just, oop, nope, that's an invalid package name. Gymnasium Storybook. Version 1, description, Storybook of React components for Gymnasium front end. Gymnasium's, oops, CMS front end, we'll do that. Entry point, index, repo URL, don't have one yet, author, me. Private, no, great. Okay, now we have all these things in here, and we can come back to the Storybook docs. We can do all of this stuff, add a script. Usually I like to put this stuff up a little higher, but that's okay. Storybook script, and we need to create a config file. We added a -c option to the above npm script mentioning .storybook as the config directory. For basic Storybook configuration, the only thing you need to do is to tell Storybook where to find stories. So create a file at storybook/config with the following content. So we're going to create a folder. Call it Storybook. We're going to add config, just config.js. Drop this in. And in this folder, we're going to put a stories folder. And there, we're going to need an index.js. Okay, write your stories. So, and this looks a lot like the demo we were dealing with last week, which is great. We have all this stuff installed, and now we can do yarn Storybook, and it should fire it up. Interesting. So this makes some assumptions already. So it's already talking about create React app. So maybe a better way to do this would be to start from create React app, which is sort of home base for me anyway. There we go. We got a button, we got some emoji. We dealt with all this last week. We talked about it and how that all worked. Okay, so that's pretty nice. I'm wondering if it makes sense to come out of the gates with create React app. I think that'll create too much distraction, at least initially. Yeah, I think that's okay. So that's it. We are set up with Storybook here. Yeah, there's going to be some typekit stuff we want to include. Cool, easy enough. Okay, so let me talk through what's here so far. So we've set up a very blank basic project that has some node modules in it. It has a storybook directory in it and a stories directory in it. Stories just has this index which has two very simple stories that represent a button, and we just saw those in the browser. Our package file only contains the storybook command right now. We have a yarn lock file that was created from adding those packages, and so this is a very basic skeletal project right now, and actually I kind of like that. So we're gonna oops. Okay, one thing I wanted to do, which I started to do here, was add a git ignore. So we're going to add macOS, we're going to add Visual Studio Code, and we're going to add React. Oh. Node. Cool. Create. So now we have a git ignore file. And I'm going to commit that. Okay. Git add dot storybooks / git status. Great. Okay. Commit -m initial commit. Okay, so once again, this should still work as expected. Oh yeah, I kind of glazed over that, but gitignore.io is a gitignore generator, which is super great. And you can type in all kinds of things that you're working on, and it'll give you all the files you should be ignoring, which I can never remember all of, and I shouldn't have to. So thankfully, someone made a free service for me. And for you and for the rest of the world, of course. But yeah, you should give it a look. Okay, so we've got this cool storybook thing. We're going to start in on some of the stuff I was doing last week. So I'm going to clear out the button stories here. We're going to add a new folder, button, and new file. We're going to do index.story.js. I think just to remember how this works, we need to include all of this stuff. And we're going to import button / index.story. And that should work the same, I think. Yes, and I can prove that to you by giving this an at. Why not? Hello button at. Great. Okay. So that's how we're going to add stories. I was just looking at the Storybook docs for adding custom head tags, which I know I'm going to need because we have some external FontKit stuff that we add to our project. So let me add that file. And inside of here, I'm going to put our typeface stuff. Let me be right back. Because I don't know if I should be showing that typekit stuff. I'm not really sure. Okay, there we go. Almost ready to come back here. Yeah, actually I guess that was no big deal to do. Okay, let me bring you back. Oh, no, that was the wrong one. There we go, that's me. Okay, so here's the pattern we're going to use for this. Is we're going to create a new folder called source, which is what I typically use for all my projects, and inside of there we're going to do components, and inside of the components is where all of the things that we're going to have stories for will live. So we'll start with a gym button, so that's what I've taken to calling it. We're going to put in here an index.js. We're going to put in here an index.js. We're going to do our best to be neat and tidy about all this stuff. So gym button.js. Did add React? No, I didn't add React. Okay. React DOM, and yeah, that might be it for now. Okay. So now I have React at my disposal here. I'm going to make a very simple we will certainly be expanding on this. Okay. Oh, right. Oh, I'm going to need that. So do gym button dot prop types equals, and we'll call that a label. Even give it a default prop. Actually, there's a bunch of different ways to do this. No. Okay. Got our label prop set up there. We've got our gym button set up here. We need to figure out how that works. We're going to make a story for it. And we'll copy one of the stories from this guy. All of that. Except instead of button, we're going to have a gym button. We might end up renaming that later on. Okay, so this will probably be broken when I run it. Should be broken when I run it. Right, I need to include that story in here. Okay, so I need to define that export here. I think I do that by saying import gym button from gym button. Actually, yeah. React is not defined. React is not defined. Okay, great. So now we're all in one piece. So you can see there's some problems here, and that's okay. I made a mistake. So we want to use children here. Children is not defined. That's great. So now I've got a button. I've got a thing with emoji. Funny enough, they render very differently. Why is that? Let me shut down some tabs here. My computer's acting pretty slowly. Hang on a second. Let's try that. Maybe that'll be a little better. Closing all non-essentials. All right, so inside of my gym button here, what's going on in the story? Interesting. Yeah, it's surprising that those aren't identical, but Maybe it's because of that span. Who knows? Easy way to find out. User agent style sheet. Ooh. Good to know. Oy, so much stuff running. Well, this is okay. So what we want to do is start building this thing out like we think it should look based on the Gymnasium site. So there's loads of buttons on the Gymnasium site that all sort of take the same form. So ideally we can build that up. So okay, so I'm going to do a couple other project management things because this is going to start to get messy quick if I don't. So let's do a quick commit here. Oh boy. Oh boy. That's looking at the old repo. Okay, we're back. I'm going to pull this up in my visual bit here. For web fonts. There we go. What are we doing here? React. And there's a bunch of stuff in here. Set up a story for the gym button. Actually, this is part of adding React, so we'll amend that real quick. And commit that. So I'm going to do something which I've done before and then regretted before, but I don't learn from my mistakes, so here we are. We're going to add Prettier to this project. Prettier is an opinionated code formatter. You've probably heard of it or seen it at some point. What it will do is it will save, when I save and commit my code, it will put in syntax changes, whatever, remove extra spaces, all kinds of chores that I do all the time. It'll do for me. So we're going to do yarn add we've installed it. And I believe maybe we can integrate it with VS Code. So we're going to search for Prettier code formatter. Boy, that's taken a while. Okay, so now in theory, we've got Prettier installed. And if I save, boom, it just went and formatted all of my stuff. Oh my god, and it ruined everything. Okay, why? Why? Oh my good great god. Okay. Let's look at that install again. Configuring Prettier. Okay. It doesn't think this is JSX. I am at a loss. It looks like it's formatting this like it's JavaScript, which is why it's separating out what it would think are greater than less than symbols. So let's just do some searching. Ignoring code, JSX. We don't want to ignore JSX. No, 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 no. Prettier format JSX in JS files. Oh, this looks like some release notes. That's not great. So let's just test this theory. If I rename this to... Nope, not JSS. My god. Rename. If I do that, and then save, will Prettier be happier? Will do anything. Doesn't seem to want to work on JSX. Come on. Prettier. Okay. Let's just see. Maybe it's not Prettier that's running. Oh my god, this is so slow though. Prettier, ESLint format. Yeah, no? What is it doing? This is so strange. Alright. Be right back. I'm going to shut down some more stuff. Let's see what is hogging up all my RAM here. Just loads of different things. Frustrating. Very frustrating. Okay. This all feels very stupid to me. Setting the parser option. What is the parser option? Tell me about that. Handful of... Nope. Specify which parser to use. Okay, we're going to try and add a prettier RC file. In here, we're going to do a fuck off. This is wasting my time and I hate that. This is very frustrating. Okay, goodbye, prettier. That was dumb. Ugh. Makes me sick. My God, my laptop is so slow, though. Are we seeing this? Let's see if we can close some tabs. Don't need that. That, or that, or that, or that. Oh, that was the one. Okay, that'll make it a lot better. Cool. I was watching myself stream in the background, which saves no one any time. Yeah, okay. Okay, for crying out loud. I can just discard these changes and get rid of this. That was very frustrating. All right, well, I should add lint. Do I have ESLint? Yeah, cool. Use a popular style guide. Airbnb, do you use React? Yes. Which format? JavaScript. Oh, this is so slow, though. What else can I quit here? I need a machine with like 64 gigs of RAM to be able to do this well. Really didn't mean for this to take the rest of my damn stream. Sorry, bear with me here. It's absurd. Okay. And now I need to add an ESLint thing. Probably see a whole host of errors. Great. 0 warnings, potentially fixable. I can fix a handful of these things. Some of these things we'll have to put in ignores for, but that's good. That's good. Okay, so I'm gonna commit this and say added ESLint, and then I'm gonna try not to make the same mistake I just did, but probably also just make the same mistake I just made by trying to add prettier through ESLint, which I know is a thing you can do as well. Just gonna save that and close it, and hopefully Cannot find module prettier. What did we just freaking run? Okay, let's see where this gets me. Got it. Okay, so a lot of this is... Now we look like we're kind of getting somewhere. I just don't know sometimes. Alright. Gonna restart code. Justin feels my pain, man. Yeah. This is the silliest thing ever. Are we happier? Do we have problems here? We should. Okay. Let's see. I think I want configuring prettier. Sorry, I'm looking on another screen. That's very rude of me. I prefer single quotes, and we are going to have it that way. Damn it. Configuration file. There you go. Single quote, true. Deal with it. Okay, that fixed a lot of my problems. I'm good on that. Tab width 2, we should probably specify. What else? What else? What else? Give me my semicolons. Okay. So let's go into index.story.js and look at some of these problems here. Replace single tick React with two quotes React. I just told you what I wanted there. Okay, that's better. This is a nightmare. Use single quotes instead of double quotes. Single quote true. JSX quotes. JSX single quote. Bool. Maybe that's what I'm missing. Let's keep these in alphabetical order. This is going great, everyone. Why? Something is ignoring something else, and VS Code is freaking out, and I want to punch a baby. Let's see. One more time, I'm going to reset VS Code. Oh my god, is it happy now? No! JSX not allowed in JSX. React. JSX file name extension. We can fix that. How do I do that? That is an ESLint config thing, which I've done before. Rules, I think. And then I want to quote that rule. Nope. I want React JSX file name extension 0. That should be an object. Good. Okay. And then this one we can put in an exception for in ESLint import no extraneous dependencies. So with all these ESLint errors, if you look up that import no extraneous dependencies, if you Google it or Bing it, in my case, you will get to the documentation about that rule. And it'll tell you the things you can do to update that rule. So, what are my options here? Options. Rule supports following options. If set to false, the rule will show an error when dev dependencies are imported. Defaults to true. Optional dependencies will show an error when optional dependencies are imported. Peer dependencies, you can set the options like this. You can also use array of globs or instead of literal booleans. Okay, better yet, here's what we're gonna do. There you go. Goodbye. Leave me alone. All right. Great. Okay. So now we have some reasonable problems from ESLint that we can go in and fix. And we can commit this and hopefully move on with our lives and never think about it again. And those are 100% famous last words. So we're going to run lint again just to show you what these problems are. And then I'm going to open up Gym button, missing an explicit type attribute for button. This is an ARIA thing. Okay. Let's try this. No. I must have another formatter installed because that is killing me. Let's kill Beautify. Disable it in this workspace. Reload required. Okay. Prettier save. Now. Oh, whatever. Go to hell. Great. Oh my freaking God. Yes. Yes. Yo, this is a freaking nightmare, and I'm super mad now. Stupid thing oscillates so quickly between working and not working. Oh. All right. Goodbye. Can you tell I'm mad? It amazes me that people rave about how good Prettier is, because this is literally my experience every single time I use it. The amount of heartache. My God. Are we happy? Never can tell. Let's see what happens if I run lint again. Okay. Prop type children is not required, but has no corresponding default props declaration. That's okay. We can fix that. We'll even give that a null. How's that? Better? Gym button index.js. I've yet to find a reasonable workaround for this particular lint error, but basically for all these index files, it's going to complain about that if there's only one thing in it. Yeah, okay. And actually, we don't even need this button story anymore, so we're going to get rid of that. And now everything should be hunky-dory. Good. All right, let's commit this and move on with our lives. Added ESLint, Prettier, and died. Great. Yarn, Storybook, does it still run? All right. Now we're back to where we were, what, an hour ago? My God. Okay, so we want to make this silly button look like a button. So let's talk about how we are going to do that. So we have gone through a number of different CSS implementations since I started using React in here. I think the one I like the most, for the sake of working with Justin, who's on the stream today, who's the art designer, who is quite fluent in CSS, is just this pattern. /gym button.css, which will just include a CSS file here. Of course it wants single ticks and a semicolon, and it won't fix it for me heaven knows. All right, so now we can start to take a look at some of this goodness in here, which should be making this button look like a gymnasium button. So if I go to gymnasium.com/courses, and I pull up our debugger toolkit, Mabob Chrome thing here, and I'll highlight learn more. We're just going to start with one of these as my sample. We're going to start plucking out styles from this guy to make the standard. So we've got a nice font line here. Oops, how does CSS work? Got a color. Maybe I should grab a button that's not so embedded. Maybe not. Maybe not. We can still mimic all this. So we know we want the color to be this. We want the color to be white, or some variant of white. I think we just use straight up white. And there's some paddings and this and that. In theory, hopefully. Ah, look at that. And it even took on the font that we imported because we have Brandon Grotesque from the font kit stuff that I did before. Okay. So, now, 17 hours later, making this gym button look like a button that we would like to use is a simple matter of HTML on one side, CSS on the other side. This CSS is specific to this button, I believe. Oh, no. Okay. Does that work here? We want to use CSS modules and not just CSS. I may have to look up how to do that again. Okay, let's see how that came through. Button, style, where's the style coming from? No, that's not what we want. Okay, well, we got some learning to do. React hook with style, use style? I forget whether there's a hook for... No, there isn't yet. Okay. So if you remember, CSS modules do the magic that I was just talking about, where we could we could declare a style for the button in its own separate file that would only ever apply to buttons and not be a global style within the project, which creates all the headaches that we're used to with CSS. Ooh, deprecation notice. Yes, this is what we want. And it looks like that. Okay. So it would look something like this. Oh, look at that. Format on save worked at long last. Does that work? I don't know if it does. No, it doesn't work. So we have to do some work to get those CSS modules plugged in here. And that in itself may be enough of a case to integrate this instead with Create React app, which supports that out of the box. Gatsby might too. I didn't actually look that up. We can look that up. Wow, boy, it's getting to be 3, so I might have to do that off stream. Several disadvantages. You have to use a styles object whenever constructing a class name. Mixing CSS modules and global CSS classes is cumbersome. Reference to an undefined CSS module resolves to undefined without a warning. Okay, next question. Do I have a Babel RC? I don't think I do. No, because this is not a project that supports that. Okay, so, boy, well then there's my decision. So I'm going to figure out whether or not we can do this with both React, Create React app and Gatsby. If that's the case, that'll make this easy. I will implement the whole Webpack setup that we need to get this done. Otherwise, I may even start making a choice between Gatsby and Create React apps sooner than that. But something tells me it might not be that difficult. Let's do a quick search. CSS modules. Oh. Excellent. Great. I don't actually have to choose. This is great. Okay, so I don't have to choose here, and I think because of that, I may start with Create React app, and then we can look at plugging in Gatsby to the parts of that that are more CMS-y. Maybe. All right, well, I'm going to end my stream here for the day. Sorry so much that this was just hapless configuration. We'll do better next time and have more fun with this, and hopefully within a few weeks of plugging away at this, Justin and I will be able to work on these things in parallel, in tandem, together, whatever, and be building out some of our global designs for Gymnasium. Yeah, with that being said, y'all have a good week. I will catch you next week. You know where to find me, Twitter, Twitch, all of the things. I am Irreverent Mike, and I'll talk to you soon. Take it easy.